before we go no to our topic, I just want to ask you if you can notice, if you're familiar with the shows, and if you can notice ano yung mga similarities with these pictures. So, um, baka some maybe okay, so sabi ni Prince niya tsaka ni Kyle niya is ending scenes, no? So yes, so these are iconic ending scenes from TV shows and movies that culminates everything that's happening in the show. For example, no, sa Avatar, no, after going through all the struggle, learning the four elements, and finally, si Ang was able to find a peaceful solution on how to defeat yung si Fire Lord Ozai, I think yung pangalan niya. Yun. And some may, baka spoiler, no, pero yun yung scene sa Avengers that we all know is very iconic as well. And also, yun, sa High School Musical, after going through their high school lives, ito yung scene where they graduated. If I can always tell you what's happening dito sa scene na to, pero if you're the guy or the girl na sinubaybayan nila from the start yung show, it will make these scenes all the more meaningful. Bakit? Kasi you've been there through the journey, through what's happening, ano yung kailangan pagdaanan ng mga main characters to be able to reach this time, no, this moment. And for today, we'll try to do the same. So our topic for today is that's a wrap. Okay. It's the final month, so June na, final month of our school year for Joy Fellowship. And we will also take time to look at our year. Hopefully, as we reminisce everything we went through sa Joy, we'll see the big picture and find more appreciation for our theme as well. Ayun. Yan. So, kasahin ko lang konti yung chat. So, ayun. Sige, so I'm very happy na familiar kayo. So, baka those are the shows that you also watch. Sige. So, can you remember ano yung theme natin for this year? So, I think na-flash na kanina no? Nung in-introduce ako ni Janelle T. So, it is Roots and Wings. Okay? So, patapos yung year natin. Ngayon ba you can explain already bakit Roots and Wings yung theme natin for the year? Or do you think na na-achieve ba nung theme yung goal niya? So I think in order to get a clue on what we wanted to achieve for this year, syempre we can look at the theme verse. So ito yung theme verse says natin actually for this year. One to focus on roots and the other to focus on wings. So can I just call two volunteers to read yung first and second verse? Okay na magtatawag. Can I ask? So okay na sige. Si Prince nga na lang to read Colossians 2:7.
Colossians 2:7. Let your roots grow down into him and let your lives be built on him. Then your faith will grow strong in the truth you were taught, and you will overflow with thankfulness.
Okay, thank you, Prince nga. And can I call si Kristen G to read yung Isaiah 40:31?
But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint.
Okay, thank you, Kristen G. So, I hope now through the verses you will see what we're trying to do. So sa roots part, we focus on growing our roots towards God in order for us to have a strong faith. And then the wings part talks about serving and soaring for God. I just want to bring back itong itong example that Jeremiah used when he introduced yung theme natin for this year. And so this is a bamboo garden in Japan. And kung makikita nyo, very siya, IG ready. So marami pumupunta dyan just to take photos. But what this photo doesn't let you see is what's underneath this beautiful scene. And ito siya, if you can imagine, ito yung picture of a root of a bamboo shoot or a bamboo tree. So makikita nyo how big those roots are and how it is intertwined sa loob. It is needed para the bamboo trees being so thin and so high can withstand yung weather wherever it is planted. Yun. So in our theme for this year, we also had this goal of being rooted first before we shoot up into the world. So that with this, we will be reminiscing back dun sa mga activities natin before and see how we became rooted and how we soared. So we start this last September. Last September, how do we start being rooted? We first talked about the examples that we can follow, and who better to use than, syempre, si Jesus and his disciples. Syempre, if you want to learn something, we want to learn from the best. And so we go back to the original. And syempre, si Jesus yung original example, and then yung pinaka-first na naka-observe kay Jesus and naka-apply nung tinuro niya are the disciples. So we had a character study on Peter as well, and then to end the month of September, we also heard from our very own Reverend Justin who shared his own testimony with us, who is a modern day disciple and discipler maker. So yun yung start ng roots process natin, being rooted. And then for October, siguro just a side note, as I was preparing my slides, ito yung mga, if you see, itong mga pictures are from our Joy promos. And as I was doing my slides, talagang mas na-appreciate ko yung artistic design of everything. How a theme for the month is may may parang central theme and a very own specific touch to it that makes it based on the topic. So ang cool lang. So I think it's also a time as we reminisce to also see and appreciate yung ginawa ng ating Joy Interactive. So for the month of October, after learning from the disciples, we tackled some relevant questions for Christians to answer. So ito yung mga typical questions that might be on your mind na baka nahihiya kayo tanungin sa ibang tao. So we tackled it in the month of October about salvation, about the existence of God, about the legitimacy of the Bible. And of course, we always try to have some care group time para makafocus naman kayo to have more time with your friends and your care group leader. And a continuation of that is itong what is prayer as well. So it's also and does it change things? So part siya nung series kanina. And then to continue yung November, we also discussed some relevant topics in our time that maybe you're going through. So we started with angels and demons. So ano nga ba? Ano ba what do we know about angels and demons? What's true and what's not? And then we also talked about TV series and shows and how to discern if it's okay to watch or not. Then we ended the month with a session on bullying, how to respond to it, and how to deal with it as well. Yeah. So all these things is for us to be more rooted in Christ and to know what's important in our faith. And then, syempre, come December, we focus on Christmas. So yun naman yung pinaka-iconic when we go to December. We tackled what it really meant for us to celebrate Christmas. We had a party, so maraming games, may mga napakanta pa ng Mariah Carey during that party. So marami na discover yung mga gifts pala nila na hindi lang para sa shower. Then of course, we end the year reminiscing back on what we can be thankful for. And so this ends our 2021 and go now to 2022. Yan. So we started the year tackling the 4 foundational disciplines that we need to develop as Christians. We started with prayer time, Bible study, and may isang session tayo where we just watch the worship service. Para dun sa mga hindi naka-attend ng worship time, at least you'll know what we're doing. And we had yung Joy Tambayan. So if you remember, ito yung Gather Town na meron pa tayong, you can make your own avatar during that time. And January also marked the end of our roots part. So ito na yung, we discussed the basic concepts, the things that we need to learn, and the disciplines that we need to develop. Tapos, starting Feb, nag-focus na tayo on the wings part. So syempre, February pa rin siya, so we focused on love. We talked about loving God and God's love for us. We talked about loving ourselves and also how to love other people. Then come March, we focus on testimony. So we heard from what it means to share the gospel, and one of the most effective ways to do it is to share your own story. So we had Arvin here to share his own story and to also help us develop our own stories as well. So hopefully naalala nyo pa as we go through this. And then for April, bumalik tayo since Holy Week during this time. We discussed yung ito medyo roots and wings na part it's applicable for both. It talks about some important dates and seasons of our church. And then we also discuss yung mga ano ba meaning ng Lent, ng Easter, ng baptism. So sobrang cool lang. Ito yung pinaka-favorite ko dun sa mga posters. So ang cool na sa Easter there's a cave. Sa Lent, there's a crown of thorns, and sa baptism, may basin of water. Yeah. And then ito, last month na to, so hopefully mas fresh na sa inyo. We had our Joy anniversary. We played games. We discussed about the example of the Samaritan woman and how Jesus was able to minister to the Samaritan woman, and that Samaritan woman was able to truly affect change in Samaria. And then we had our soaring series in end of May to early June. We talked about soaring in our circle of friends, our families, and of course yung community. So we heard from different outreach organizations on how they help. And last week lang we heard from Aya Charles on how he ministered to yung family niya, lalo na to his father as well. Ayun, and that brings us to today. So just a wrap up of everything. And then here are some things that you can look forward to care group time, and some testimonials from our officers after. Ayan. So can I just ask you to comment as I was going through itong mga activities natin for the past year, ano yung pinaka nag-stand out sa inyo? Ano yung pinaka na-enjoy nyo? Pinaka memorable moment sa inyo? So please, input nyo na lang sa chat. Okay. So si Janelle C, yung Joy Tambayan daw. Very yun. Ang ganda ng paggagawa dun sa place, but syempre, ang galing parang sobrang na-imitate ni Monica C yung UTM Hall. So pag magjo-joy kayo next month, no, makikita nyo na how similar it is. And baka ma-deja vu ko. First time ko lang dito pero medyo familiar na yung place. Yun, sige. So, si Jerek nga daw yung activity ni Daniel nga yung parang breakout room na nasa plane. So, breakout plane. Okay. So, ngayon, I just want to leave you with some things. No? So, pabaon. So, I borrowed this term from an Ateneo tradition. So, sa Ateneo, may tradition sila for its graduating batch na may isang session for seniors about ending their stay in Ateneo and how to move forward. So, parang may parang send-off nila, okay, to their graduating batch. So, pabaon yung term. So, ako, meron din akong pabaon sa inyo to end the year. Okay. It's composed of 3 points lang. So, short lang. Okay. So, first is roots. So, growing roots is a lifelong process of becoming like Christ. So, as Christians, just because we're serving or soaring already doesn't mean our roots stop growing. We never stop learning and growing our roots with the goal of becoming more and more like Christ every day. So yun yung goal. So growing roots, no, is a lifelong process that we need to go through kahit na kahit na ano pa ginagawa nyo, kahit nag-serve na kayo. So as they say in Philadelphia, no, trust the process. So it's a process talaga of being changed by Christ and being more like Him. Next is wings. So spreading wings is a lifelong mission naman, only possible with Christ. So spreading our wings and serving is not just a one-time thing. It doesn't end after this school year or after June. It is a lifelong mission as Christians, and we can only do it consistently if we have Jesus helping us, sustaining us. So mahaba yung process. So isipin nyo ngayon, from the time that you met Jesus, ngayon after this year, that you learned what you need to do and how you can do it. Forever na, if you live long, no, for the rest of your life, it's our mission to spread our wings wherever God calls us to. So it's only possible if we are being sustained by Jesus. We can't do it alone. Okay. And lastly, growing roots and spreading wings is a lifelong journey best taken with fellow Christians. So applying what we learned this year in growing roots and wings, it will not be easy. There will be times when it's easy and times when it's hard. To give some examples, we need discipline, encouragement, and even correction, no, in order to have a fruitful journey. And the journey becomes way easier when we do it together with fellow Christians. So plug ko na rin, attend na kayo ng Joy Fellowship face-to-face come July. And syempre, don't stop attending yung virtual natin for me. So to recap, growing roots is a lifelong process of becoming like Christ. Spreading wings is a lifelong mission, only possible with Christ. And growing roots and spreading wings is a lifelong journey, best taken with fellow Christians. So yung one key word or keywords that I want to point out is lifelong. What we learned this year will be useful for us for the rest of our lives. Wag nyo na ibalik sa amin yung lessons or principles that you learned. But hopefully, as you remember it, as you grow as a Christian, yung mga natutunan natin this past year will we can use, no, for the rest of our lives. Okay. So this concludes my short wrap up for the year. So I just want to leave you with 2 reflection questions. So assess for yourself where you are in your journey. Are you still building roots and not ready to fly? Or are you already soaring? So there's no, hindi na naman kailangan mahiya, no? Kung hindi pa talaga kayo ready to fly or to soar, if nandun pa kayo sa building your roots, no? It's not something to be ashamed of, but it's always good to acknowledge it and to work on it as well. So share na lang with your care groups And then yung second, what's next for you in terms of your spiritual journey? So meron ba kayong plans or goals depending on kung nasa na kayo. Kung roots part pa lang, so what can you do to further strengthen your roots or to transition to soaring as well?